See, that's the advantage of doing it virtually because Dan can attend and he's out of state. I wouldn't be attending if it was in person because I haven't been feeling well. So we've got 2 extra people here.
You just stay home. You just stay home, darling.
Well, I'd like to officially welcome everyone to our first Toastmasters meeting virtually. Since it is 6:30 Central Standard Time, I guess for Dan, the time would be a little bit different. I'd like to call this meeting to order. I'm in my studio and I have a ton of drums, but I don't think they'll come across the microphone. So I will just say, please welcome our president, Nicole Bevilacqua.
Hello, can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Welcome to Dripping Springs Toastmasters, where community springs with laughter and learning. I am your fearless leader, Nicole Bevilacqua, and I am so excited to welcome all of you to our very first pandemic version virtual meeting in the year 2020. I'm so excited that you guys have shown up for this. This is kind of amazing. We do have at least one guest, Craig Sprout. Craig, if you will unmute yourself and say hello to the group.
Hello from San Antonio, everyone.
Craig, are you doing leadership this year?
Pardon?
Are you in the district leadership this year?
No, thank goodness.
It was last year, right?
Yes, Dan invited me. My home club is going to try a virtual tomorrow, so thought it would be a good opportunity to see how it's done. I know this group will be leaders in that regard.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for showing up tonight, and feel free to let us know in the chat box what you think, and at the end of the meeting we'll give you a chance to shout out all the things. All right, guys, so who is our invocator tonight?
Marguerite.
That would be me. I just had to unmute.
Marguerite, take it away.
All righty. I just have to open this up. So I got this from my broker this morning and I thought it was so good I would repeat it. Instead of worrying about what you cannot control, shift your energy to what you can create. I know in times like this, it's easy to focus on things we can't control. And so it's easy to feel stress, worry, and to frankly feel out of control. We need to focus on things we can control to maintain that power of security. And in order to become the person you were meant to be, to live the life you were meant to live, you have to go through hard times. When you ask, why is this happening to me? You need to realize it's actually only happening for you. It's times like this that we learn, we grow, we change, and we recalibrate. Challenges are what make life interesting, and overcoming them is what makes them meaningful. Hardships are there to prepare ordinary people for extraordinary destinies. Put you on a path of greatness, not to destroy you, but rather to strengthen you. So be strong when you are weak, be brave when you are scared, be strong enough to let go, and be patient for what's coming for you. This is your life and you can choose to be the hero of your own story. So, please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I return it back to our president.
No, damn it.
What happened?
Jay.
Did you hear that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, crap. Sorry. But I didn't say.
This is the best meeting ever.
Wait,
Jay, are you trying to show your video?
Did you just mute me?
No, but if you could mute yourself, that would be awesome.
Oh, I'm told that with great regularity. Okay, what do I do? I'm sorry. I tried to log in and that, anyway, I can see you guys. Can you see? I don't think I have a camera.
We can't see you. Are you on a laptop?
No, well, yes, except I have a big monitor.
Yeah, your camera on your laptop is activated instead of the camera on your monitor. So if you go to the bottom of your screen next to the stop video icon, there's an arrow. If you click on that, you should be able to select a different camera.
Okay.
Or you can open your laptop and use Zoom on your laptop.
Oh,
In the meantime, though, if you will mute yourself,
yes,
then I will continue. Thank you for being comic
Sure.
relief, as always.
muting.
All right, you guys. So we have an exciting, interesting meeting. We're using Zoom. Hopefully you got a chance to kind of check it out and play around. And if not, that's okay too. We're just gonna find our way through this meeting. Mistakes are welcome. Unstable internet is anticipated. Accidents with muting and unmuting and showing your face and not showing your face are bound to happen. It's not a big deal. But I do want to point you to the bottom of your screen. You have some different icons. There's a chat feature. If everybody will click on that chat box, if you haven't already, and open the chat screen, and you should see a window or a box open to the right of your screen, of your Zoom screen, with all the people that are at the meeting and the chat feature. Does everybody see that? Type something in the chat box. Say, hi, hello, I'm here. And let us know that you get the chat. So the chat feature will be useful tonight. First of all, you can text everyone. You can chat to everyone. If you click on where it says type message here, the blue where it says everyone, if you click on that, you can select any individual member. So feel free to send private messages throughout for your own entertainment and goodwill. At the end of the meeting, when it's time for vote counting, Darlene will be the vote counter. So you will select her name and submit your submissions for the best of the different categories. If you have any questions, you can text, you can chat me directly. Getz is going to be our Toastmaster, so don't chat her, chat me, and I will answer any of your questions. Other than that, try to keep yourself muted unless it's your turn to speak, just so we make it easy. If you look at the top of your screen, in the right-hand corner, it should say speaker view. You can go to speaker view where you see primarily the person who's speaking, which right now looks like it's still showing Jay's screen. I'm not sure why. For me.
Was that Nicole?
So at the top right corner, it says speaker view. You can click speaker view, and then we see the person who's primarily speaking, or gallery view, and you see everybody's face. So it's your preference how you want to view the meeting tonight. Does that make sense?
Yes.
If you downloaded the app for this, you downloaded it to your computer, then you'll have this feature. I think if you go directly through the website, you may not have this feature. So you'll just sort of see who's speaking, and that's okay. All right. Again, if at any time you have questions, you get lost, you're confused about something, please send a message to me through the chat function. Click on everyone and select my name and send it to me directly, and I will respond to your message as best I can. Moving on, we have a full agenda, and we have an amazing woman who volunteered last week to step in as Toastmaster when nobody else would, and she had no idea that she would be leading our first ever virtual meeting. Please welcome. Oh, that's one more thing I wanted to say. Feel free to applaud with your hands up. We can't hear you, but we can see you. Please welcome Getza.
I love this. Thank you. And by the way, here's my elbow shake. So I'm your Toastmaster for today. Oh my God. I'm your Toastmaster for today. And I'm very proud of our very first virtual meeting. So as for this particular meeting, it's interesting because I sent an email about what it is to have resilience in the moments like these where we're dealing with a pandemic, right? I thought about what it is to have resilience. Some moments can be tough, some moments can be scary, and I shared with everybody via email 5 strategies, science-backed strategies to be more resilient, and which I thought was amazing and appropriate as a theme. So just as a reminder, just to share with the rest of my club members, think about changing the narrative, what we tell ourselves, what we tell our others in these types of moments. We have fears and kind of have to face our fears, hopefully with good information and with the help of others. be compassionate in these times. Yes, things can happen to ourselves, our family members. There's a lot of things that we're dealing with emotionally, physically, etc., mentally. So we have to be practice self-compassion. One thing that I always hear about, and I don't do enough of, meditation, right? Take the quiet moments to think through and breathe. And finally, cultivating forgiveness. So there's, people are acting maybe a little different recently. You can tell by going to HEB, going to the restaurants, everybody's acting a little different nowadays. And that's fine, and things can be frustrating, but if we cultivate forgiveness, I think it's all part of resilience. So I wanted to share that with my club members before we got started with our meeting. And the way that I want to start our meeting, we always start our meetings, is by an introduction to our roles. So let's get into that. Let's start with our timer. Kay Marie, can you please tell us about your role?
Okay, I'm going to time speeches, and I assume we're doing table topics, correct? And evaluations. Now tell me which you think might be best. I can give you, when you met your time, I can give you one bottle. Ooh, I'm gonna have to hold this or do my screen. One Topo Chico, 2 Topo Chicos, or 3 Topo Chicos, depending on the time. Or, and this may be a little disconcerting, 1, 2, 3. Which works best? This one? Does that work?
Audio. What do you think, Nicole and Marvin?
I like the tapping and setting the bottle up there, because when you tap, then I'll hear it.
Okay.
And then it'll just go back to me. So if you can unmute at that point and mute it when you're done until the next tap.
So you want me to put do both of them? Is that what you're saying?
That's what I think.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
I'll try to set this up so that you can see I'll have to kind of do this. I don't think you're going to see it.
I thought she was just saying raise one bottle and then tap.
Oh.
Is that what
No,
we're-
yeah, I see, but I can see them if you set them like that. So raise one bottle, tap, and then set the one bottle.
Okay, like
And
that.
then it's, yeah.
You get me from the neck down that way.
But
Yay!
if you lean too far forward, we can't see down your shirt. No big deal. I've learned this from experience.
Okay.
One at a
All
time.
right, very good. That's it.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Kay. And let's introduce our grammarian, Chuck.
Well, that would be me, and it's good to get here. Gessa, thank you very much for the instructions on how to log on. I don't know how I missed that. I'll be keeping track of everybody's grammar, so the filler words, the maybe, all the things I'm famous for, I'll keep track of for everybody else. And is there a word of the day I need to keep log or check on?
Yes, we're going to go with
Resilient. Resilient is the word of the day. Okay. And I'll keep tabs on how many times people say resilient. So that's the grammarian report.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Chuck. And let's go ahead and move on to our vote counter for today. Darlene.
All right, I am the vote counter, and I'll just reiterate what Nicole already explained. When you cast your vote, you, in the chat message, you send me a message only. So perhaps right now yours says to everyone. You're going to change that everyone to Darlene, and then send me your votes. And if you would like to abbreviate so that I know what your vote is, BS could be the best speaker, but we know the best speaker is not BS, but anyhow, that's the initials. BTT would be best table topics. BH would be the best humor. BE would be the best evaluator, and ME would be most enthusiastic. So if you want to use those or something similar, that way I'll know what category you're voting for that person in, and I'll tally the votes and let y'all know who wins.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Darlene. And definitely not final, I think, for now, but not least, recap writer, Emily.
I am in charge of taking notes of the meeting and getting them prepared so that everyone who is in attendance can see them. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm not missing anybody. Let me know if I am, but I think we're ready for our section of the speakers for our meeting today. And we're going to start today with our very first speaker, which is our president, Nicole. Now, Nicole recently won the area speech contest, which is amazing. And today, Nicole is going to give us a speech out of the Competent Communication Manual. It'll be a 5 to 7 speech. The purpose of her speech today will be to persuade others now about why isolation matters now more than ever in today's times. Her title of her speech is Freedom in the Time of Pandemic. Nicole?
Hello, thank you so much. All right, so I had the task this weekend to meet with our officers and talk about what to do about our meeting, whether or not we should have a face-to-face meeting or if we should go virtual. We started this conversation early on in the weekend and we weren't quite sure what to do. And I was on the fence because you guys know I love you and I love to be in person with you and give you hugs and all the things. However, as the news began to change and the school district shut down, Toastmasters sent out their recommendations and we decided, yes, we're definitely going to do a virtual meeting, which was the right call. There were some of you who were not very happy about this call, and I understand that. I wasn't that happy about it either, but it's the decision we had to make. Now, I've talked to friends and other people since then outside of this club, and there are a lot of people who are saying this is overblown, this is ridiculous. Why are we doing this? This virus isn't going to kill me. It doesn't affect me. We're overreacting. I want to talk to you today about why it's not an overreaction at this point, even if it feels like it is. We are at a point right now where the recommendation from the county judge is, and I got this information from John Burns just before the meeting started, the recommendation now, the requirement now is no more face-to-face or group meetings of 10 or more people, and there's a $500 fine if you are caught violating that mandate. So we're at the point now where they are basically telling everyone to self-isolate. Stay indoors, stay away from other people, sequester yourself, and if you're sick, quarantine yourself. This is so critical for this period of time before the numbers escalate to what we've seen in South Korea, what we've seen in Italy, what they're seeing in Spain. We're at a critical point where we can stop the spread of this disease or this virus by self-isolating and choosing to social distance ourselves if we have to go to the grocery store or the gas station, that sort of thing. The rate of infection with this virus is proportional to the number of people who are infected. What's happening right now is an exponential growth curve. So remember exponents, the power ofs, there's an exponential growth curve that's happening with the rate of infection. Each person who's infected with this virus is expected to infect 2.5 people over a period of 5 days. So you're basically doubling the rate of infected with each person who becomes infected. So imagine you're counting by doubles. You start with 1, then 2, then 4, then 8. How many times do you have to double before you get to more than 1 million? 20 times. So think about that. 20 times. So it's 20 people that could potentially get us to more than 1 million people infected if we don't stop the spread of this virus. This is serious business. Now, if we self-isolate, that means you have less people interacting and less people spreading. The issue with spreading is I don't feel sick. There's nothing wrong with me. I'm a healthy woman in my 40s. However, I may be infected and just asymptomatic. I may not even know that I'm shedding this virus and spreading it to others. If I'm out and about interacting with my friends, with my family, going to the grocery store and talking to neighbors or other people who are there, I may be spreading this disease unknowingly. And this is what's happening with a lot of young people who are saying, oh, I'm safe. It's not going to hurt me. It's not going to affect me. I don't need to worry about this. They're going out for spring break. They're going to bars and parties and restaurants and doing whatever it is that they're doing and spreading this disease, because younger folks tend to be asymptomatic, whereas older folks tend to get sick and show symptoms. Now, they believe, the CDC believes that there's about a 10 to 15 day incubation period. So if you get sick, you're going to start showing symptoms within 10 to 15 days. What this means for us if we're self-isolating is if I start my self-isolation today and I commit to not go out and interact with other people who are outside of the people who live in my home already, then in 10 to 15 days, if I show no symptoms, I am probably okay. Now, that doesn't mean I can go out and just start interacting with the community. However, if Kay, my neighbor, also chooses to self-isolate and stay in her home, and she's asymptomatic in 10 to 15 days, then she and I and my kids can get together and start spending time together in an isolation cell. Thank you, Kay. As long as we don't continue to interact in the community. So as long as we stay isolated in an isolation cell together, we can begin to spend time together in about 10 to 15 days. However, if people don't follow this mandate and self-isolate and practice extreme social distancing, then we're going to see a huge skyrocket of infected people. The problem with the skyrocket of people being infected, first of all, access your humanity. We don't want people to die, especially our friends and family. This will overwhelm our healthcare system, causing other people who are not infected by this virus to die, causing a shortage of materials that we need. And it will prolong the need for self-isolation and mandatory quarantines and restrictions, which is crippling our economy. So this affects everyone. This is bad for everyone. And what you can do right now, starting today, is self-isolate. Stay in your home. Don't interact with your neighbors. Don't interact with your friends. We have internet. We have Zoom. We have ways to stay connected. South Korea implemented this self-isolation early on before they had a large number of cases, and they were able to flatten the curve, which you guys have all heard that. They were able to flatten the curve and slow the number of infected over time, and now they're beginning to come out of their homes. We've all seen what's happening in Italy, where it has hit a high number. There are a large number of deaths. The healthcare system is overwhelmed, and people are stuck inside their homes indefinitely. I will leave you with this. Please choose to isolate yourself. If you have teenagers or college-age students in your family or your friend circles, tell them why it is so important for them to isolate themselves as well. Stay in your home, stay safe, stay sane, stay healthy, get outside, play outside, but don't touch anyone, don't talk to anyone, and let's all be in this together and stop the spread of this disease so we can get back to life. Thank you.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you so much, Nicole, for that. Definitely learned. Very persuasive. We will move on to our next speaker, which is our most beloved Marvin. Now, Marvin will be giving us a 4 to 6 minute icebreaker speech, and it's part of the Mastering the Technique of Public Speaking Pathways. The title of his speech is My Signature Successes at the B.F. Goodrich Company. Marvin.
Agetsa, is this a 5 to 7?
4, I thought it was 5 to 6, 4 to 6.
Marvin, it's 4 to 6?
An icebreaker, right?
Okay, okay. Just want to know.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome guest. In my first icebreaker, I told you about my life as a boy. Tonight, I'm going to describe to you the kind of scientist I was, and I think I still am. A signature success is an accomplishment that contributes significantly to a company's bottom line. A DuPont executive once told a group of summer interns that only the top 10% of DuPont's technical staff actually contribute to the company's bottom line. The remaining 90% are effectively support personnel. My first signature success at the B.F. Goodrich Company occurred in 1964 when our competitor Goodyear was granted a patent in the area dominated by a Goodrich patent issued earlier, which describes a catalyst used to make synthetic natural rubber from isoprene, a petroleum product. The catalyst is made by reacting an aluminum compound with a titanium compound, which I will call, for simplicity, A and B chemicals. The Goodyear patent claimed a similar process for making synthetic natural rubber, but using a different catalyst. Instead of using chemical A, they used chemical A combined with a chemical C belonging to a family of organic compounds called ethers. Their patent claimed one molecule of C reacts with one molecule of A to form a complex AC. According to US patent law, a three-component catalyst would have allowed Goodyear to avoid paying royalties to Goodrich. Two Goodrich patent attorneys and 10 technical people, including myself, met to discuss how we could discredit the Goodyear patent. After an hour of suggestions, none of which seemed enough to discredit the Goodyear patent, the discussions focused on the complexes AC. One of the technical people remembered a German publication describing many of the AC complexes. He retrieved the article and wrote on the chalkboard energy numbers for the different C ethers, which showed how tightly bound the complexes AC were. The numbers range from 20 down to 1. Two of the C chemicals listed as preferred in the Goodyear patent had numbers from 1 to 2. When I saw those numbers, I leaped to my feet and asked Jerry, one of the attorneys, if I show the complex AC still has unreacted A present, would that prove the Goodyear patent is covered by the Goodrich patent? He said yes. And while still standing, I proceeded to describe how I would do it. I was put in charge of carrying out the experiments. Following my instructions, my assistant, working with a technical man operating an instrument called an NMR spectrometer, they produced data exactly as I had predicted. The data showed there is always free A present when it is reacted with a preferred C, because the reaction of A with C does not go to completion. Regardless of the temperature, there is an equilibrium between uncombined reactants A and C with a complex AC. The data and description of the use of the NMR spectrometer were conveyed to Goodyear by the attorneys. About a month later, Goodyear came back and asked how the experiments were performed. They gave the impression they couldn't repeat our results. So I wrote down 1, 2, 3, this is how you run the experiments. And 4 and 5, this is how you do the calculations. These instructions were conveyed to Goodyear. You can't imagine what an ego trip that was for me, having to write down directions for my technical adversaries on how to do experiments. 6 months later, Goodyear capitulated. What took Goodyear so long? It took us only 3 days to do the experiments. I think the SOBs were hoping to find a flaw in my procedures which would help them keep their patent position. Goodyear didn't know who they were dealing with. I never did shoddy experimental work. Jerry, the patent attorney, told me later the patent victory was worth millions to Goodrich. This signature success cemented my reputation as a member of the top 10% of the B.F. Goodrich technical staff. So why was it that none of the other technical people recognized the significance of those low numbers as I did? I'll tell you why. Because I'm a comprehensive thinker. I think broadly when confronted with complex problems. My colleagues thought narrowly, like many people do, when confronted with a complex problem that has a lot of information, much of which is not important, and a distraction from what is important, and that leads to the solution of the problem. All of those 9 colleagues had worked on catalyst chemistry for years longer than mine. Yet in fewer years, I demonstrated my mastery of the technology by a comprehensive review published in a technical journal in 1963. And after this publication, I had published in this book in 1966, a chapter that 90 pages long, which describes all the catalyst technologies for making rubbers and plastics specific chemical structures. I continued to publish and do research in chemistry for 10 years. Then I spent the remaining 26 years of my career doing research in the physics of rubbers and plastics. I also published in this field as well. I survived 6 staff reductions because I continued to produce signature successes, solving manufacturing problems for the chemical, tire, and aerospace divisions, problems which those technical people could not solve. Words cannot accurately describe the fun and excitement I enjoyed doing research in chemistry and physics for 36 years and even getting paid for it.
Awesome. That was great. It's I feel so proud to have such an accomplished member as part of our club. So let's move on to our next part of our meeting. Now, timer, were all our speakers on time?
They were.
Awesome. Great. Now, remember, club members, Toastmasters, please vote for the best speaker. We had Nicole talking to us about the freedom in the time of, was it pandemic? Is that wrong? I hope I got that right. And then we've got Marvin with my signature successes at the BF Goodrich Company. So please remember to select Darlene's name and send her your vote. We're going to move on to the next part of our meeting, which is our Toastmasters section, the table topics section. So our table topics master for today is Jay.
Thank you, Getza. Can you hear me? Yes, good. Okay.
Yes.
Well, here we are in the age of Corona. We will look back on this as many of us have looked back on 9/11. Some of us have looked back on Pearl Harbor, and Marvin has looked back on Noah's flood. An interesting question is, 9 months from now, how many babies will be named Corona? Think about it. Here we are, stuck at home, nothing to do. We're tired of binge watching whatever it is we watch. So this is indeed a unique experience. And it is one that is unlike anything that I can remember. And so I think it's a good idea for us to kind of take a look at what's going on here and ask ourselves, how do we really feel about this? So what I would like to do is ask Chuck, what's the most annoying part of this whole experience as far as you're concerned?
I'm at the meeting right now. That's okay.
Unmute audio. There I am. Okay. The most annoying part about all of this, wow. The hoarding that I see, it is almost past annoying. And this is largely HEB kind of hoarding. But the notion that people need, 50 or 60 rolls of toilet paper is patently absurd, of course. Costco, frankly, has been out of toilet paper for 3 weeks. I found out a few days ago when I went in there and noticed there wasn't any there. And one of the staff told me that. But so many things are being taken from people that need them. We all have friends in different professions that are hurt by this. One of my best friends happens to be a construction painter, drywaller, and he can't get professional masks. He can't get the $200 or $300 variety mask from Home Depot or Lowe's or Amazon for that matter, because people are buying them just in case. That even though masks are pretty well regarded as not something that helps a great deal, if it helps at all, but that lets me down so much in human nature. The fact that we can panic that quickly is annoying, to say the very least. What that leads me to is a kind of a paranoia that I think everybody who's ever been in the military deep down and seen how other countries can react to severe national crises, the paranoia we all have back down, that the civilization that we enjoy in this country is a fairly thin veneer between civilized society and, we'll say, temporarily not civilized society. And we've seen that in the sense of very dense cities having periods of riots and so forth. You worry when you see this kind of idiocy in hoarding and selfishness, that the veneer is thin for many, many more areas than just urban areas. And that, to me, is the most disappointing and, in a way, a little bit scary. Thank you.
Thank you, Chuck. That was pretty good. I think it's a sentiment that's shared by a whole lot of us right at the moment. Okay, looking ahead here, let me ask a question. If you could magically transport yourself to anywhere on this earth during this time of coronavirus, where would it be, Darlene?
Well, thank you, Jay. I love Hawaii. And so, you know, it would just thrill me to death to be in a secluded area on this beautiful island out in the middle of the ocean with the gorgeous blue waters and the breeze blowing, and just being able to soak up nature. That would be awesome for me, because I love it there, and an excuse to go there wouldn't take very much for me to get to go. So it's just, that would be my preference on where to go for isolation in this kind of situation. That would be fun. And what a great way to pass the time, however long it's going to take. And with the ability to still connect with people via internet, and just soak up the outdoors, because I'm an outdoor person. I love the outdoors. I love nature. It just fills my soul so much. And so to be there in that environment would be just ideal for me. And that's where I would love to be. Thank you.
I'm trying to demute here. Thank you, Darlene. That's actually sounds pretty darn good right at the moment. Will you be sending us pictures of yourself doing the hula in a grass skirt? We're all looking forward to that. All right. What message, this is for Catherine, who just left. Catherine, come back here. What message, Catherine, would you or Mildred have for those darn people that are aggravating the hell out of Chuck by hoarding toilet paper?
I tell those people, this too shall pass. I have been through many, many hurricanes on the Gulf Coast of Texas and in Florida. We have had windows broken out, mopping leaves off the ceiling, and the power goes out, so you have to eat what's in the refrigerator within 2 days or throw it out. I've eaten jelly and butter sandwiches for 2 weeks and survived. I think people are overreacting, and I don't know if it's the media or are just people are so, I don't know, silly about things. They're not realizing that they can survive just fine without all that toilet paper and every fruit and vegetable in the grocery store. I mean, the fruits and vegetables are going to not last that long. I don't know why they're buying it more than they need. It just doesn't make a bit of sense. But the point is, people are letting panic set in when that's completely inappropriate. And I feel like people just need to take a chill. You're going to, survive. That's the thing you need to think about is survive. Kay, I can't see this. Is there a second bottle up there? Okay, just one. Thank you. People need to understand that they can survive on a whole lot less than they have. They don't need anywhere near the things they think they need. Thank you. And so I guess I would say just take a chill and realize you can survive.
Thank you. Thank you, Catherine. That was very, very good as always. It would be nice if everybody would take a step back and just kind of take a deep breath and go, get through this. Okay, are you on or am I? Oh, I guess I am. Okay. This one is for my pal Tomasz. Tomasz, if you were your 19-year-old self in this time of Corona, who would you want to self-isolate with? Tomasz, Tomasz, Earth to Tomasz. Come in, Tomasz, come in. Is anybody else hearing me?
I can hear you.
Yeah. Tomasz.
I can hear you.
Are you there?
Tomasz.
Yep. You're heard.
Okay, Tomasz, did you hear the question? Hello?
You need to unmute.
I can't unmute him. I tried, but I can't. And I'm not the admin right now.
Tomasz is actually evaluating. How about we call on somebody else?
Okay, that's a good question for Patrick Resnick.
I just realized you guys were waving to me. I had to speak it to
Patrick, there you are. Tomasz, are you there?
Yeah, I had my speaker to because I'm evaluating. I'm trying to put thoughts to paper.
Okay. Oh, so you heard the question?
No, I didn't. But I'm trying to evaluate, so I can't.
Oh.
Don't try to distract me now.
Oh, I didn't know you were the
there.
evaluator. Oh, okay. Well, Patrick Resnick, are you listening?
Jay, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, did you hear the question?
No. Repeat the question, please.
Here it is. If you were your 19-year-old self in this time of Corona, who would you want to self-isolate with?
That is a tricky question, and one of which that I would say that if I knew what I knew now at 58, when I was 19, I would probably isolate myself with my wife to be Lily and practice all the things that we don't have time to practice now. At that point in time, you seem to have time to practice a lot, such as gardening. That's what I'm thinking, gardening and beekeeping, flower arranging, things like that, things that you can do to really help encourage people. The other thing that I would do is learn how to make toilet paper. I would learn how to make toilet paper and hand sanitizer. I think if I was a better entrepreneur, I would have, at that 19, I would have taught myself to do those things in anticipation of the future. In fact, I went to Twin Liquors this last week because I couldn't get into HEB and I could barely get into Twin Liquors. And there was a gentleman there who had bought bottles and bottles and bottles of Everclear because he was making hand sanitizer and he was able to sell that hand sanitizer out of the back of his pickup. It was an amazing experience. So yeah, I think I would go back and just realize that at 19, there's so many important things that life has ahead of itself, and that is to have lots of hand sanitizer and toilet paper. Yeah, that's the ultimate.
Okay. Thank you, Patrick. By the way, I'm not buying a word of the fact that at 19 years old, you'd be interested in beekeeping and stuff like that. Okay, Madam Toastmaster, do we have room or time for one more?
I think we're ready to move on.
Okay, I was saving one for Marvin. Marvin, wherever you are, I wanted to say happy birthday to you and many, many, many more. So that's it then. So please vote for Chuck.
Just a minute, Jay, that we only have 3 that are eligible: Darlene, Catherine, and Patrick.
Darlene.
Darlene?
Yes. Who
Catherine and Patrick are eligible for votes.
Okay, please vote for them if you would. Thank you. Thank you. And that concludes the table topics portion of the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jay, as our table topics master for today. Let's move on to the next portion of our meeting. So I'm going to introduce our general evaluator, Jesse. Come on up.
Good evening, everyone. It is nice to be here. It is so interesting to be in a virtual environment. I do this almost all day long, every day, so it was actually hard for me to get on another conference call, but I'm very entertained at this point. Let's move on to our general evaluation this evening. We will first introduce Kimberly, who will be evaluating Nicole. Help me welcome Kimberly. Unmute yourself, please.
Okay, can everybody hear me? Okay, awesome. Well, I'm excited to be here to evaluate Nicole. I thought she did a wonderful job on her presentation. Her goal was to persuade others of why isolation matters at this time. The title of her speech was Freedom in the Time of Pandemic. And I'm going to tell you what I liked, what I loved, and a couple of things that I thought that Nicole could have done a little bit to improve. First of all, I like the fact that Nicole opened with a smile that just exuded warmth right away. I liked how she explained the reason behind the virtual meeting, how it came about, that the leadership discussed this. She also addressed that there was some resistance to having this virtual meeting, which actually happens to parallel some of the resistance in the community about this whole topic in general, about the self-isolation. So I thought that was really great. That she brought that up. I like that she avoided the use of a lot of notes. That was something that we had talked about earlier. She switched what she was going to talk about so that she could be very current and relevant. And so she thought she was going to have to use notes, but I did not really notice a lot of notes being used. So I thought that was awesome and that she addressed a current topic. Now I'm going to tell you about what I loved, because there was so much here that I loved about her speech. I love that she started off by telling us that she consulted with our local officials to find out what are the current requirements. And she told us that no more than 10 people should be together in a gathering, which also is the reason why we need to do this virtually. And I love that she told us that there's a $500 fine, so there's some teeth behind that. So that's why we need to do this. Right away, she introduced relevant communities that have experienced what we are going through now, the pros and the cons. So she talked about South Korea, she talked about Italy, she talked about Spain. So if you're really still wondering why we should do this, then just get on the news and check out the differences in those different environments, and you can see the reason why she made the case that she did. I love the fact that she also tried to address our different levels of or how we learn. She talked about the exponential growth, and then she took us back to our math in junior high school and brought us right back to exponents so that we could all understand the tremendous growth, and the fact that she used her hands, she used gestures as well to explain this, so we could relate to her in a lot of different ways. Then she also used numbers, so she broke it down into 2.5 people will impact that 2.5 people over 5 days can be impacted, and that if only 20 people are infected, that could lead to 1 million people. So she showed us the exponential growth that could happen. So I think that hits home as well. She made the case for why asymptomatic people should not be going out there, because even though they're not showing symptoms, they could still be carriers and infecting other people. So she made the case for all of us why we should be there. Then she also talked about why the importance of a 15-day isolation. And then she told us, hey, if we do that, then here's a bonus, then we can then join isolation cells. So she also gave us a reason to do that on the other side. She gave us ways that we could stay connected by being virtual and things of that nature, which is what we're doing today. I love that she really was persuasive in her argument, and then she gave us a call to action at the end. She gave us several of them. She said, isolate, and then she really appealed to us to access our humanity or cause others to die. So I thought that was really powerful and hard-hitting. Then she asked us to tell others, so also to use peer pressure or peer persuasion to get others to comply. So, and then she rounded out with, let's be in this together. So there was a positive towards the end. So I loved her persuasive tactics there. Let's see. She gave us ways, well, I talked about that, gave us ways to stay connected. Now, there's a few things, Nicole, that I thought you could do to improve. One is at the very beginning, your eye contact, you were looking down a lot, but then as soon as you got into your message, then you were right there looking at us, and that way we had that eye contact and we were engaged with you right away. So I thought that was awesome. You started touching your face at the very beginning, but I think that was just nerves. So the more you get into it, that didn't happen throughout the speech. So that was just an initial thing. I thought you could have used a few more metrics. Thank you. I thought you could have used a few more metrics to talk about 56 deaths yesterday, 100 today. I think that would drive home your point. But otherwise, I thought you did a fantastic job. And I'll turn the meeting back over.
Thank you, Kimberly. All right, team. As for our next evaluator, we have Tomash evaluating Marvin. Help me welcome Tomash.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Marvin, first of all, congratulations on being brave enough to venture into this medium and do an online speech. First time we're doing this. So I was very impressed with that. Thank you. And I think you had some benefits there too, because there was no ways I could tell whether you were using notes or if you had your speech written out in front of you on your screen. So you get the benefit of the doubt on that one. The icebreaker is such a wonderful speech for me because it really gets us to know somebody better. And I like the way that you structured this. You told us you already had an icebreaker about being a boy, and this was going to be about the scientist part of you. So I appreciate that basically setting the scene for us. And really, I was very impressed by the accomplishments that you told us about. The whole story about the catalyst in the synthetic rubber was fascinating to me. I mean, I knew about this huge business transition that happened somewhere in the 20th century where people went from natural rubber to synthetic rubbers, and that was huge, made tires cheap, and we all use that every day. We ride on these things every day, so it is key to all of us. But these little subtleties with the catalysts I wasn't even aware of, so I was totally impressed with that. And I thought your story was fascinating, how you found that little bit of energy difference. You saw that lack of energy. You were paying attention to that meeting. The lack of energy meant, okay, it wasn't a complete reaction. It was a leftover A compound, which means that if it's a leftover A, it's combining with a B. You nailed them. That was brilliant. So I was impressed by that, the legal battle, and then the millions that you saved for your company. And I think it's great to hear stories like that where science really makes an impact in the real world, because I think my kids certainly I would want them to be inspired by science and what it does. That has a real benefit, that it has a real effect in the world. So great for that. Bottom line was inspiring. What I would like to have heard more of is this speech felt a little bit like a business meeting, like we were doing a video conference with business people, in the sense that, for example, you could have had more humor. You mentioned your ego in one part, which was great, but you could have had more vocal variety and gestures. I know it's hard to move around and maybe change your voice. I guess I'm probably speaking with a single voice right now. with single tone. But I think make that effort, because it is a tough medium, to make it more interesting, because I want 2 models. And finally, I think the other thing that was fascinating to me is you were in the top 10% in this company. And I think that's true even today. And the thing that I would have wanted to know is, how did you get there? What made you a top 10% guy? Was it luck? Was it upbringing? Or is it something that you did? So I hope you tell us, maybe during another speech or over pizza nights. Well done, Marvin. Thank you again.
Thank you, Tomasz. All right, ladies and gentlemen, as for tonight's general evaluation, a few things, mostly positive, of course. I'd like to commend everybody on their flexibility this evening. My goodness, we all got online, we got on a Zoom, and how flexible we've become. I think it's beautiful and wonderful. Also goes along with our use of technology. Creativity. Kay, how creative with the bottles. Darlene, how creative with the use of how we're going to actually use the chat. And I'm pretty sure y'all came up with that on the fly yourselves. So that's super creative, and it just shows our flexibility. Toastmaster, Getza, you had beautiful transitions, given the fact that we have to not stand up and, you know, turn over the lectern. The transitions were very good. You know, on any conference call, remember to mute yourself when you're not talking. And then a reminder on table topics, always call on people that are non-evaluators or people that have non-speaking roles. So that includes my general evaluation this evening. I'd like to call upon the grammarians report, which comes from Chuck Miller. Chuck, how do we do in our speaking this evening?
Everybody did extremely well, except of course me with the kind of thing. Let's see, Kimberly, probably a notable exception because you're usually so good about this. You had quite a bit of transition words, repeating RR, using the word so, and so forth. And I never get a chance to say that to you because you never make those mistakes. But I think you seem very rushed tonight. And I guess editor's privilege, since there's not a lot of grammarian report, I want to give the Best Background Award to Marguerite for having some great posters in the background, a beautiful swan and a great female role model on the other side. Catherine, you win Master of the Obvious for chastising people for hoarding fresh fruit. That makes so much sense. And Joy, you get Best Tech Appearance because of that really great doodad coming out of your ear. And that's my report.
Oh, gee, thanks. Thanks.
Jesse.
Yes.
The timer's report. Yes. Kimberly was over. We have one contestant to vote on.
Okay. So everybody, as a reminder on how to cast our votes, we will put this into the chat. And if I captured this correctly, we have for BS, your best speaker, BTT's best table topics, BE, best evaluator, BH, best use of humor, and ME, most enthusiastic. Please cast your votes in the private chat over to Darlene. And I think that concludes my segment of the night. I thank you very much, and I'll hand it back over to our Toastmaster, Getza.
Amazing. I'm like so proud of everybody. My God, Jesse, you did such an amazing job with those slides. I'm like, oh my God, lady, you're like so professional. So I just want to tell everybody that I really, really enjoyed this meeting. I was very excited about it being tech. I don't know why. I know a few of us pretty much work all day like this. Like I know I'm one of those people that are meetings all day, every day. But still, I had a lot of fun doing a Toastmasters meeting in this manner. So thank you everybody for supporting. I hope you guys enjoyed yourself. I'm gonna turn it over to our president, Nicole.
Great job, Getza. That was amazing. Everybody, big round of applause. I want to see jazz hands for Getza. Woo! That, you guys, for our first virtual meeting, this was pretty dang good. I think we pulled it off really well. Jay was humorous right from the get-go, got to drop your computer, but all in all, we made it work. Marguerite, do you have a joke for us?
All right, had to unmute. So I have two, because one is sort of coronavirus related and one is, no one has mentioned, it's St. Patrick's Day. So basically, my sister is a champion worrier. She worries about everything. And no matter how much my siblings and I try to reassure her, she's a worrier. But she likes to say, hey, worrying works. Look at all the things I've worried about that have never happened. Okay, cacophony of laughter, I'm sure. And then for St. Patrick's Day, what do you get when you cross a 4-leaf clover with poison ivy? I don't know, but it's a rash of good luck. I'm done.
Well done. Well done. Yay. You guys, feel free to unmute yourselves now here at the end of the meeting. I do want to call out again, today is Marvin's birthday. And had we all been in person, we would have given him a cake and birthday hugs, and Jay probably would have wanted to spank him. So I would love for you guys to take a moment now. Let's sing happy birthday to Marvin. 1, 2, 3.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear
Marvin.
Happy birthday to you. That was hilarious.
That was amazing. Marvin, where are you? I hope you saw
Yeah,
that.
can I say something here?
Yes, please.
When I was a child, we played a game on St. Patrick's Day. And if you didn't wear green, the kids who didn't could be pinched by the other kids. I think that's a pretty good game. And so I sort of missed that. I would have hoped that we'd had a meeting.
I'd get pinned.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, take note. Marvin wants to pinch you.
Oh, I have green.
Awesome. Darling, how are you doing? You need a little more time?
Oh, I think I've about got it here. I mean, there's so many close calls in so many different categories. It's been tough.
All right. Well, whenever you're ready, you take it away.
Okay. I am ready. Okay. Best speaker is Nicole.
Oh, thank you.
All right. Best table topics is Catherine. Most enthusiastic is Gesta. Best evaluator is Tomasz. And most humor is Jay.
Congratulations, everyone. You're winners. You guys, I think we're all winners. I would like to take a moment to thank every single one of you for braving the technology. I know it's a learning curve for some of you, and some of you are just resistant. I'm resistant. It's not my favorite thing, but this is what we can do to stay connected. So thank you for showing up. I hope that you will continue to show up for as long as we have to do this until we can be together again. Craig, we'd love to know, what did you think of our first ever online virtual meeting?
You guys did a fantastic job. Yeah, for Toastmasters meetings, I have to admit I have pretty low expectations of how these go. So I just want to say you guys knocked it out of the park. Okay, that was great creativity with the Topo Chico bottles. Everyone kind of jumped in and did what they could. So bravo to y'all. It was great. I'm going to take some of your ideas to my club tomorrow when we do this, and I appreciate you having me a guest and let me hang out.
Awesome. Thanks so much for hanging out with us. Thanks for your feedback, and let us know how your meeting goes. I'd love to hear about it.
Will do.
Maybe you'll come back next week too. Thanks, Craig. All right, you guys. So this is our pandemic version of Toastmasters, Dripping Springs Toastmasters moving forward. I am using this time to be creative and innovative. There's a lot of things to be afraid of, and I'm just choosing to look at this as opportunity, and I hope that you guys will do the same. One of the opportunities, Jay and I have already talked about this, it's gonna happen. One of the opportunities on the table right now is a YouTube Dripping Springs Toastmasters late night edition. I am going to begin interviewing you all and virtually and playing some games and having some fun, recording it, putting it on YouTube for our entertainment, for our connection. So I will call on you, but if you would like to volunteer, please let me know. It's going to be fun. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be entertaining. And I think it's going to do a lot to bring our club together. And I also think it's an opportunity for us to connect with the larger community and bring in new members, especially during this time when people are having to be isolated. They want a way to connect with other people. I think this is a real opportunity for us to boost our membership. So let's be creative. Let's be innovative. Let's try to have the most fun that we can. Call each other, check on your neighbors over the phone, over the internet. Love yourself, stay safe, and thank you, everyone. Yay! Any other club
Thank
business
you.
or announcements? Okay, meeting adjourned.
You rock, Nicole. That was awesome.
Thank you.
night.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye, guys.